entertaining and informative radio for the Sunshine State.
Yo, Monkey Boy.
There you go.
What's up? This is DDP, Diamond Dallas Page, and you're talking sports with Randy Harris. Diamond Dallas Page is going to make you feel the bang.
Welcome back to Knockout Radio. Mike Straka, Street Nat Matt, Joe Marquis. UFC 304 coming up this weekend. Leon Edwards taking on Belal Muhammad for the championship. That's going to be a great fight. Tom Aspinal, Curtis Blaydes. That's another big fight. And, you know, that when heavyweights, it's a whole different ball game. As we've been, you know, it's cliche to say, but one punch could mean the difference in the whole fight. Joe,
all right, let's just go on how many pay-per-views we think this is going to sell. We might as well just start there.
6.
No.
You're not going to be far off.
6.5. Well, I'm going to watch it.
It's not far off.
There's a
100,000?
100,000.
Yeah, that's sad.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Why are we talking about it?
I made this point ever since the ESPN deal came out. Too many fights. There are too many fights because they have UFC agreed to a certain amount of content, and now there's people in the UFC that don't even belong to be in there because they have to fill the inventory. They have to have the fights, and I think they're oversaturated themselves. And I'm not saying that it diluted the sport, but it did dilute the fan interest in the sport. Not to mention, I'm a little upset. I'm still upset that I have to have ESPN Plus for the privilege of spending $70 on a pay-per-view. That gets
Is that what they are now? Because
$69.
I steal them.
That's Joe Marquis
Really?
from
$70?
Yeah, $69. Some of them are $79, depending on who's fighting.
Well, inflation.
Yeah.
Well, that probably happened before inflation, huh?
Yeah, it did.
Do you still see him at Wing House and like Hooters? Can you still go and
No, they stopped.
watch fights live and then
Hooters-
go out in the parking lot and practice?
Yeah,
what you
Hooters
learn?
hasn't done that.
Hooters was the first one to stop, and I'll tell you why, because I interviewed the president of Hooters, because I used to do my post-fight show at the Hooters Casino right across from MGM Grand. So I would after the fights, I'd run over there after the press conference and do a post-fight show with the Hooters in the background. So I interviewed the guy who runs the whole International Hooters and the National Hooters. There's two different organizations. And they said, Mike, we can't get the girls to work on fight nights because guys come in, they sit down, they stay, and they order one basket of fries and water the rest of the night. And he said, my girls don't make any money. So they don't want to work those fights, so we had to stop doing them.
Well, Wing House does. They must incentivize it then. They must do something to incentivize.
Maybe a cover charge.
Well, I've never paid a cover charge, especially at my own house.
Except for the
We don't
$70.
Hooters in your house either. Right?
Yes, I do. Stop that. It's a smorgasbord at my house. You gotta come over.
I mean, but I remember watching Anderson Silva versus Chael Sonnen when that 5-round, you know, like.
But you're
last
talking
second.
about a fight that's gonna get over 1 million pay-per-views.
But I watched it at the Wing House, like on 4th Street, and then everyone in the parking lot went out and practiced what they just saw.
That was
like
great.
watching the Karate Kid when we were kids.
Oh, I did the same thing coming out of that theater. I was kicking all my friends.
I was crane kicking everybody.
Everybody can't go to
drum
Clear Beach.
techniquing people out in the parking lot. Just stay still.
Still banned from the beaches, I see.
Well, that fight you're talking about was UFC 117 in Oakland, California. And I was there for that fight, and I interviewed Chael on my Fighting Words show on HDNet. And he showed up the next morning at 9 a.m. He said, I'll meet you in the lobby at 9 a.m. And this was before he even fought Anderson. And then he had that heartbreaking loss. And I'm sitting in the lobby, it's 8:59, and I'm going, there's no way Chael's going to show up for this interview. And I had three camera guys. They were all set up in another room. The lighting was all done. And sure enough, at 8:59 and 30 seconds, he popped up. The elevator door opened, and there's Chael. And I said, I can't even believe you're here. He goes, Mike, I told you I'd be here, win or lose, and I'm here. And that's Chael Sonnen for you, man.
It is.
Chael Sonnen is one of the most respectable, loyal guys. Forget about his on-air persona, especially when he's promoting a fight. He's one of the nicest guys in MMA.
Now, how do you deal with that, Mike, in the real world? Like when you're a bad guy on TV, when you're this persona of the American gangster, when you're Bad Boy Inc., you know, you can turn it on and off. Like I turn this on and off every time I come to the studio, but
I turn you off all the time.
you should. But how do you go out in the real world? How is Chael received in the real world? Because I know there was a parking lot incident with Francis Ngannou where it actually escalated in real life, but then there was kids involved, and Chael said, "Hey, look, we can do this later. Let's not do this in front of the kids."
Yeah.
You know, is he really that guy all the time?
Do you think he goes around just starting trouble? Is that what you like talking?
He's a parking attendant. He gets tickets, and then there's friction. Have you ever seen Parking Wars in Philadelphia?
Is it a show? Is it a TV show?
It's
old.
It's a reality show.
But I know, from what I've seen, he's he's super cordial to people when he's out because you've seen him talk to people, kids especially.
He's
I mean,
won
I've seen it.
And he's done the show. He's
What'd he
done
say?
show.
He's won every fight.
Yeah,
He's done knockout radio.
until he lost the round.
Yeah, he does. He's won everything around.
He was the world champion. He was the people's champion.
He was. Well, listen, since we're on Chael Sonnen and we're talking about his persona, there's also another gentleman who has a major persona, and that's Conor McGregor. If, Chael Sonnen won actual fights, especially if he beat Anderson, beat him the second time, would he be a bigger star than Conor McGregor? Would he have been a bigger star than Conor McGregor?
No.
Because he was a better talker.
I don't think so. You know why?
And why?
I'll tell you why. This is going to sound really, really, what's the word? Just really dumb.
Imagine him beating Anderson Silva.
Yeah, but Americans love an accent.
Yeah.
I've heard that before, but I don't...
It just sounds
Like if you're-
better coming from Conor's mouth.
So
because
we're
of the
saying.
accent.
So we're saying the only thing
Yep.
separating the
Yeah.
two.
Yeah.
Or
That's
how
what I'm
about this?
saying.
The only thing making Conor as popular as he is his accent.
Yeah, because
I
if,
can't go with that.
if you
I
think
can't
about
go
it,
with
no,
that.
if you think about it, the entire Irish nation is behind Conor McGregor.
10 million people. You act like there's
Yeah,
250 million
they're
people.
but they're extremely vocal, and when they come, trust me, I've been to Conor fights in Boston, I've been to Conor fights in Vegas, and they pack the stadium.
He definitely transcends being just Ireland. I mean,
Right.
Yes.
Americans love him.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. If Chael Sonnen was that, if he won, especially the way Conor came out and won the title, if Chael came out and won the title like that, because he's a much better speaker, he's much more articulate, and he's way quicker witted
However,
than Conor McGregor is.
Chael's base is wrestling, and wrestling has always been
It's boring.
boring.
It's boring.
Yeah, so I don't think he would ever be as popular as Conor.
Okay,
Now-
I can
now-
take that more than
The accent.
But
the accent. Yeah.
if Chael Sonnen was from Newport Richey, Florida, he would have an accent that would have made him bigger than Conor
I
McGregor.
tell you
That's
what,
right.
he'd be huge in Newport Richie.
Yeah.
On top of a roof, yelling from the mountaintops.
If only he had that,
Speaking
that
of on top
southern
of roofs.
accent like the Haktua girl.
Listen, there is no southern accents in Newport Richie. Okay, there's more southern accents in Pinellas Park than there
Did you say
is
Pinellas?
in Pinellas Park.
Speaking of roofs,
Pinellas Park.
slanted roofs,
Yeah,
sloped roofs.
slant,
Let's talk
112
about
roofs that you
sloped
can't
roofs.
walk on.
Well, I brought
Listen,
my
I
Donald
could
Trump
take a nap on the
helmet.
roof that shooter shot.
Are my
Honestly,
ears
I've been a
protected?
roofer my whole life, and I looked at the roof. It's literally a 112. It is the lowest slope you can get until you have to put flat roof material on there.
Well, there's
I
a
could
reason.
literally sideways, like if I was to keep rolling, I could take a nap sideways on that roof and not worry about falling off.
There's a reason why that the Secret Service director was forced to resign. I mean, that was.
I love the way you're forced to resign, but boy, she took a beating.
Oh, she
And
she
that's
took
why,
a
that's
beating.
why I wore my helmet. Because, like, you talk about heavyweight fights, we're a combat sports show, but the greatest figure in the UFC is Donald Trump. Biggest fan. I mean, the UFC wouldn't be where it is without him allowing them to happen back in the day when they were still not sanctioned in a lot of states. So, you know, we now have a political fight coming up, a heavyweight fight between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. And your thoughts on it, guys? Like, what do you think? Like, stars are going to line up. I mean, you see Colby Covington, you see Jorge Masvidal, a lot of UFC fighters coming out in support of Donald Trump, but who are we going to see from the other side?
I'm gonna plagiarize Bill Maher right now. How is somebody running for president who's literally, you could count how many delegates she's had on one hand if that hand had no fingers? Honestly, she this is where we're at.
It's going to be a landslide victory for Donald Trump, whether I like Kamala Harris or not.
I don't know.
I don't know about that.
She's got a lot of support, and she's going social media.
Who support?
She's like Kamala Harris has she's dominating TikTok and Twitter. She's dominating the social media.
how many-
space.
She's
How
only
many-
got 100. I love the way they're bringing up. She's got $100 million in
48 hours.
Right, whatever it was. Okay, that's because people been holding their money back from Joe Biden now for months.
For sure.
And of course, it was immediately going to go to whoever the
No
incumbent
question.
was going to be.
But they're
And let me-
calling-
let me-
Don't act